I had always assumed that betrayal came with warning signs, small fractures forming before everything collapsed, hushed conversations behind closed doors, lingering gazes that didn't belong to me. I naively believed I would recognize the signs, that I would never be the kind of man caught off guard by the person he trusted most. But the truth about betrayal is that it doesn't announce itself, it doesn't knock politely. Instead, it bursts in uninvited, tearing through your world before you even realize what's happening. It all started with a single night, one fleeting moment. Emily had planned an evening out with her friends, something completely ordinary. She slipped into a dress I had never seen before, black, form-fitting, leaving little to the imagination. When I raised a questioning eyebrow, she merely laughed, brushing it off, claiming she had bought it months ago but hadn't found the right occasion to wear it. That didn't sit right with me. Emily wasn't the type to let a new outfit gather dust in her closet. But I let it slide. She pressed a quick kiss to my cheek and hurried out the door. That should have been the end of it, just another normal evening. She would be out with the girls, and I would be home, unwinding. Instead, it became something else entirely. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Jason, my brother. Hey man, are you out? No, just at home. There was a long pause, too long. His voice when he finally spoke was cautious, hesitant. You sure? Something about his tone made my stomach tighten. Yeah, I said slowly. Why? Another pause. Then finally he said the words that made the air around me feel heavy, suffocating. Because I just saw Emily. And she's not with her friends. My grip on the phone tightened. What? I'm at Rowley's. She just walked in. With some guy. They're at one of the booths in the back. Jason wouldn't lie about something like this. He knew what Emily meant to me. He understood when I said she was everything. I didn't remember grabbing my keys. I didn't remember the drive. All I knew was the relentless pounding in my chest, the way my body felt detached from my mind. Rowley's was packed when I arrived. Laughter, music, the rhythmic clinking of glasses, just another Friday night for everyone else. But my world had already tilted on its axis. My eyes swept across the room, searching, scanning. And then I saw her. Emily sat across from a man I didn't recognize. She was radiant, leaning in close, smiling in that soft, teasing way that had once been just for me. Something inside me fractured. I moved forward, slow and deliberate. The crowd pressed around me, but I barely registered them. As I reached their table, standing just beside them, neither of them noticed at first. They were too caught up in the little world they had created, one where I didn't exist. Then finally she looked up. Her face lost all color. Nick, she exhaled, barely above a whisper. The man, Tyler, I assumed froze. His hand hovered dangerously close to hers, his expression shifting from confusion to realization in mere seconds. Emily was quick, I give her that. She forced a nervous smile, straightening in her seat, letting out a breathy laugh. Oh my God. Baby, what are you doing here? Baby. She had the audacity. My voice was low, too steady for the fury I felt building beneath the surface. Funny. I was about to ask you the same thing. She blinked rapidly, mind racing for an excuse. I could see it, the gears turning, words forming, scrambling to find the right lie, the one she thought would make this all go away. Tyler, to his credit, looked uncomfortable. He shifted slightly, his eyes darting between us. His hand inched away from the table. I remained silent, watching, waiting. I wanted to see what she would come up with. I wanted to let her try. Emily let out another uneasy laugh, reaching for my arm as if she could smooth this over with a simple touch. I stepped back before she could. She swallowed hard. Nick, you're being weird. This is just Tyler. You've met him before, remember? I stared at her, unblinking, my expression unreadable. I had never met this man in my life. Her lips twitched, just a flicker of hesitation. But it was enough. I turned to Tyler. Is that true? He hesitated. Just a second too long. His jaw tensed, and then he made the worst possible decision. He looked at Emily. Like she had the answer. Like she could guide him through this. Gotcha. I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. Wow. Emily's smile wavered. Nick, stop. You're acting crazy. That word. Crazy. It sent an icy wave down my spine. How many times had I seen this play out? Not just with me, but with other men, other fools who trusted too much, who gave too much only to have their reality twisted upside down while the woman in front of them smiled and said, "You're imagining things. You're overreacting. You're crazy." It was textbook. Predictable in the worst way. And for a brief second I almost respected her nerve. Almost. You're saying I've met him before? My voice remained calm. Emily nodded too quickly. Yes, at that work event last year. Remember? The one at the rooftop bar. Tyler looked miserable, his stare fixed on the table. I let the silence stretch between us. And then, I did something she never saw coming. I took out my phone, and the instant I did, I saw the flicker of panic in her eyes. Keeping my voice low, I murmured, "Just checking something. You know, since I'm the crazy one." I navigated to my photo album, scrolling straight to the work party she had mentioned. That night was burned into my memory. Emily had gotten tipsy on champagne and spent most of the evening glued to my side, whispering how much she loved me, how lucky she was. And you know what else stood out in my mind? The fact that Tyler was not there. Turning the screen toward her, I let her see the undeniable truth. "Where is he, Em?" I asked, my tone even but pointed. "Because I don't see him anywhere in these pictures." Her breath hitched. Her fingers clenched into fists on the table. "Nick, Before she could even attempt an excuse, Tyler shot up from his seat. "I should go," he blurted. "Coward." Emily's head snapped toward him, sheer panic flashing across her face. "Tyler, don't." That told me everything. Everything I needed to know. Everything she had been desperately trying to keep hidden. I stepped back, watching as Tyler practically bolted for the exit, leaving her behind, completely exposed, utterly alone. Her chest rose and fell quickly, her mind no doubt scrambling for an escape route. I tilted my head, taking in the woman I thought I knew, the woman I had planned to spend my life with. She parted her lips, ready to launch into another lie, but I lifted a hand, stopping her before she even began. And then I spoke the words that made her flinch. "Tell me the truth, Emily." Her mouth opened, yet no words came out. I watched her struggle for air, her hands gripping the edge of the table as though it were the only thing keeping her upright. "Tell me the truth." Those 4 words turned her into prey. I could see the battle happening behind her eyes, the calculations, the desperation. She was smart, I'd give her that. But the problem was, I had already unraveled the lie. She wasn't trying to fix this. She was trying to survive it. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper, trembling. "Nick, please. Not here. Let's not do this here." A quiet chuckle escaped me. I pulled out the chair across from her, the one Tyler had abandoned, and sat down. "We're doing this here, Emily." Her gaze darted around the bar, searching for an escape. Almost ironic. She hadn't been embarrassed when she walked in here with him. She hadn't worried about being seen then. But now she wanted privacy. Pathetic. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. "How long?" She swallowed hard. "Nick, how long?" Her bottom lip trembled. "It's not what you think." I tilted my head, my voice eerily calm. "And what do I think, Emily?" She hesitated before whispering, as if the words might soften the damage. "I love you." A sharp, humorless laugh escaped me. "Love?" I echoed. "You love me?" She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. She wanted me to feel sorry for her, to see her as fragile, broken, as if she were the victim in all of this. I exhaled slowly, dragging a hand down my face. "Okay, then tell me, Emily, do you normally go on secret dates with men you don't love?" She flinched. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" She swiped at her eyes. "Tyler is just someone I talk to." "Talk to?" I repeated, my expression unreadable. "That's interesting, because from where I was standing, it didn't look like a conversation. It looked like a date. And judging by the way he ran out of here, he knew it too." She opened her mouth to protest, but I cut her off before she could spew another excuse. "And don't tell me I'm crazy. Don't insult me like that." Her jaw clamped shut. For the first time since this started, she looked afraid. "Good. How long?" I asked again. Emily took in a shaky breath, twisting the napkin in front of her. "A couple of months," she admitted. Something inside me snapped. Couple of months. While she was waking up beside me every morning. While she was kissing me goodnight. While she was making plans, talking about wedding venues, honeymoon destinations, our future. I forced myself to stay still, to breathe. "Did you sleep with him?" Silence. That was my answer. I exhaled sharply, pushing my chair back. Standing up, I looked down at the woman I had once believed was my future. Her eyes widened in sheer panic. "Nick, wait." But I was already walking away. She scrambled after me, her heels clicking frantically against the floor. Desperate, she caught my wrist, her fingers digging into my skin. "Please, please don't go like this. We can fix this. We can." I turned so fast she stumbled back. Whatever she saw in my expression made her breath hitch. "You don't love me, Emily," I said, my voice disturbingly calm. "You loved that I was easy. You loved that I trusted you. You loved that I never questioned you." Her lips parted, a sob catching in her throat. "That's not true." I shook my head. "I deserve better than this." Her grip tightened. "Nick, please. I made a mistake. A mistake." A breathless chuckle escaped me as I pried her fingers off my wrist, one by one. "No, Emily. You made a choice." Without another word, I turned and walked out the door. She didn't follow. I stepped into the cold night air, but it did nothing to cool the fire burning inside me. Standing in the parking lot, I struggled to steady my breath, my hands clenching and unclenching at my sides. My mind raced as I tried to process the past 10 minutes, the past few months, really. All that time, I had been building a future with her while she had been slipping away behind my back. She had looked me in the eye, told me she loved me, and then gone to someone else. Months. I should have let that be the end of it. I should have driven home, packed my things, and walked away from this nightmare. But I wasn't finished. Not yet. Before I could stop myself, my fingers moved over my phone screen. "Jason." The call barely rang once before he answered. "Nick." "She admitted it," I said, my voice flat. Silence stretched for a beat before he exhaled slowly. "Man. I'm sorry." I squeezed my eyes shut, gripping the phone tighter. "I need a favor." Jason didn't hesitate. "Name it. Find out everything you can about Tyler." There was another pause, and then his tone sharpened. "You got it." I ended the call. I wasn't the kind of guy who needed revenge, the type to dig for dirt. But this wasn't something I could ignore. Emily had played me for months, deceiving me over and over. I needed to know how deep the betrayal ran. I slid into my car and started driving, my thoughts replaying every conversation, every moment that now felt like a lie. And the worst part? I still didn't understand why. I had given her everything. We had been happy, at least, I had thought so. So why? Why him? Why throw away 6 years for a stranger? I had no answers. But I was going to find them. Sleep barely came that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, panic-stricken, guilty, every lie playing in an endless loop. I couldn't shut it off, no matter how much I wanted to. By morning, I felt hollowed out. But I was still waiting. The call came just after 9. "Nick." Jason's voice was sharp the moment I answered. "You sitting down?" That was never a good sign. "Just tell me." He took a breath. "Tyler isn't some random guy, man. He's her coworker." I went still. "He works in a different department, but they've worked on projects together. He's been with the company about a year." And here's the kicker, Jason hesitated. I clenched my jaw. "What?" "He's married." The words hit like a gut punch. Married. Emily had been sneaking around with a married man. My stomach twisted. I had thought she was just selfish, but this was something else entirely. I forced myself to keep my voice steady. "Does his wife know?" "No idea. But there's more." Jason paused. I checked their work schedules. They had a business trip last month. A cold, sick feeling crept through my chest. Emily had been out of town for 3 days. She told me it was a conference, just her and a few coworkers. She had sent me messages every night, called me, told me she missed me. The entire time she had been with him. I pressed a hand to my forehead, trying to push back the nausea. "Send me everything you have." "You sure?" Jason's voice was cautious. "You don't have to, eh? I need to see it." There was hesitation on the other end, but then a notification dinged. I opened the files, screenshots, photos, emails. Everything was laid out in black and white. And then, at the bottom, a social media profile. Tyler's wife. I clicked on it. There she was, smiling, happy, completely unaware that her husband had been betraying her. Something inside me snapped. Emily thought she could do this, thought she could walk away untouched, leaving me as the only casualty. She was wrong. I wasn't just going to let this fester inside me. I wasn't going to be the only one suffering. I was going to bring it all down. I stared at my phone, my thumb hovering over the message button on her profile. My pulse pounded in my ears, a steady, relentless beat. One tap. That was all it would take. One message and her entire world would shatter just like mine had. But I didn't press send. Not yet. I wanted Emily to see it happen. I wanted her to watch as everything she had tried to keep hidden came crashing down. Pushing back from the table, I grabbed my keys. Emily was still at home. I knew she was. She had already texted me twice, asking where I was, begging me to talk. She wanted to explain, to soften the blow with whatever excuse she had come up with overnight. Good. She wouldn't see this coming. The drive back to our apartment felt surreal, like I was outside myself, watching it all unfold. I didn't even know what I felt anymore. Anger, of course. Betrayal, without a doubt. But beneath all of it, there was something else, a sense of clarity, a purpose. This wasn't about fixing anything. There was nothing left to fix. This was about making sure Emily faced what she had tried to escape. When I walked into the apartment, she was pacing the living room, chewing on her fingernail, a nervous habit she always denied having. The second she saw me, she froze. "Nick." Her voice came out breathless, almost relieved. "I've been trying to call you." I shut the door behind me, slow and deliberate. Across from me, she hesitated before stepping forward, her voice cautious. "Please, can we talk? Just sit down with me for a moment." I tilted my head slightly, my expression unreadable. "You mean like the way you and Tyler sat down together last night?" Her face crumpled instantly. "Nick, stop." I ignored her. Instead, I pulled out my phone, scrolling until I found the screenshots Jason had sent me. Without a word, I turned the screen toward her. Emily's entire body went rigid. Her eyes flickered rapidly across the images, emails, flight itineraries, photographs. Solid, undeniable proof of her deception. And at the very bottom, the picture of Tyler's wife. Her lips parted, her breathing uneven and sharp. "Where did you get this?" A quiet, humorless laugh escaped me. "That's what you're concerned about?" Emily's hands flew to her head, fingers gripping her hair. "Nick, please." I tapped my screen, pulling up Tyler's wife's profile. "Should I send it to her? Or would you prefer to do it yourself?" Her reaction was immediate. She lunged for my phone. But I anticipated it, stepping aside just in time to let her stumble past me. Desperation radiated from her, raw and unfiltered. "Nick, you can't. Please, you can't." My voice was almost amused. "And why not? She has the right to know, doesn't she?" Tears streamed down her face now, her expression pleading. "You don't understand." I took a step closer, towering over her. "No, Emily, you don't understand. You don't get to play the victim here. You don't get to cry and beg when this is something you chose to do." A choked sob escaped her as she shook her head, whispering, "I never meant to." I cut her off, my voice sharp. "You never meant to what?" "Get caught." She flinched. The silence between us was thick, suffocating. And then, softly, brokenly, she murmured, "I don't want to lose you." I looked at her, the woman I had once imagined a future with, and felt nothing. No love? No sympathy. Just emptiness. "You already have." Before she could even process my words, I pressed send. The message was gone. Delivered. Irreversible. A strangled noise burst from Emily's throat, somewhere between a gasp and a sob, as though I had just thrown her into a freefall. She lunged again, but I stepped back, watching as she grasped at nothing. "No," she choked out. "Nick, no, no, no. What did you do?" I slid my phone into my pocket. "I did what you should have done the moment you decided to betray me." Her hands pressed against her temples. "You don't understand." A dry, humorless laugh escaped me. "Oh, I understand perfectly. You didn't care when you were sneaking around with him. You didn't care when you lied to me every single day. But now? Now you care, because the world you built on deception is about to fall apart." Emily started pacing, her breath uneven, panic settling into her every movement. "This isn't just about me, Nick. This is going to ruin lives." My response was flat. "Like how you ruined mine?" She spun toward me, her eyes blazing. "It wasn't like that." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh? Then go ahead, Emily. Explain to me, what was it like?" She pressed her lips together so tightly they turned white. I could see the battle inside her, the desperate attempt to salvage whatever twisted version of reality she thought she could sell me. "I never wanted to hurt you," she whispered. I laughed sharper this time. "That's the thing about people like you, Emily. You never want to hurt anyone. But you do it anyway." A sharp notification ding echoed through the room. Emily flinched. She knew exactly what it meant. My phone. Tyler's wife had seen the message. Emily's breathing turned shallow. "Nick, please," she rasped. "Please just tell me what you said to her." I pulled out my phone, read the notification, and smiled. "She wants to talk. Guess we'll find out together." I tapped the screen. Emily let out a shaky breath, her head shaking. "Nick, please don't do this." Too late. I hit call. The line rang once. Twice. Then a voice. "Hello?" Emily's face fell apart. "Hi," I said smoothly. "You don't know me, but I think we need to talk about your husband." A sharp inhale came from the other end of the line. Silence followed, tense, heavy, the kind that carried the weight of realization. Then finally a voice. "Who is this?" She sounded composed, but beneath that was something else. Suspicion. Fear. Like she already knew something wasn't right. Like her instincts had been screaming at her for months. Just like mine had. But she hadn't wanted to believe it. Emily stood frozen, horror painted across her features. Her hands trembled at her sides, her lips parting as if she wanted to plead. I didn't give her the chance. "My name is Nick," I said. "I'm engaged to Emily." Silence. A pause long enough for me to hear the way the woman on the other end caught her breath. I could picture her in that moment. Maybe sitting in her kitchen, maybe curled up on a couch, staring at her phone as the puzzle pieces snapped together. Then, cautiously, she asked, "Emily?" I glanced at the woman in front of me, the one I had spent 6 years loving, trusting, and planning a future with. I didn't even recognize her anymore. "Yeah," I said. "Emily. She's been seeing your husband." A sharp, shaky breath. What do you mean?" And then Emily lunged. She lunged at me, fingers clawing at my skin, desperate to grab the phone from my grasp. But I was quicker. I stepped back, keeping the device just beyond her reach. My eyes locked onto hers with a cold intensity. "Nick, stop!" she cried out, her voice breaking with desperation. "You don't understand." I didn't acknowledge her plea. Instead, I spoke into the phone, my voice steady and firm. "They've been seeing each other for months, sneaking around, lying to us both. Even took a business trip together. Sound familiar?" There was silence on the other end, then a shaky exhale. "Yes," came the broken response. Emily let out a strangled sound. "Nick, please." But I had already tuned her out. I wasn't speaking to her anymore. I wasn't even looking at her. "Listen," I continued, my tone composed and unyielding. "I know this is a lot to take in. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear. But I have the proof: emails, flight records, messages. If you want to see them, I'll send them over." The woman on the other end was silent for a moment. I could hear her breathing, uneven and ragged. Then, her voice, firm but trembling. "Send it." A sharp, panicked cry burst from Emily. "Nick!" I tilted my phone slightly so she could see my thumb hovering over the screen. Her face twisted with anguish, tears streaking down her cheeks. "Please," she whispered, her voice raw with desperation. "Please don't do this." She was begging, pleading. But for the first time since this all began, I felt nothing. No sympathy, no guilt, only the weight of justice. I pressed send. Emily collapsed onto the couch as though the ground had been ripped out from beneath her. Her hands clutched at her head, her breath coming in short, uneven gasps. But I had already turned away, my attention fixed solely on the phone. The message had gone through. Tyler's wife had the evidence now, the screenshots, the emails, all of it. I had no way of knowing how she would react, but one thing was certain. Emily's carefully constructed world was about to crumble. A strangled sob broke the silence behind me. "Nick, please." I finally turned to look at her. She was a wreck. Mascara smeared, her flawless facade shattered beyond repair. The same woman who had looked me in the eyes and lied for months was now unraveling because, for the first time, she was facing the consequences of her actions. "Please what?" My voice was devoid of warmth. "Pretend this never happened? Cover for you?" Her shoulders shook violently. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." A bitter chuckle escaped me. "No? Then tell me, Emily, how was it supposed to be?" She opened her mouth, but no words came. Even she didn't have an answer. I watched her, drowning in her own guilt, and felt nothing but disgust. Then my phone buzzed. A message. I glanced down. Tyler's wife. "Thank you for telling me. I knew something was wrong. I just needed to see it for myself." Another message appeared before I could respond. "He just got home. I'm going to confront him now." A slow smirk tugged at my lips. "Perfect." Emily caught the expression and flinched. "Nick." I turned the screen toward her, letting her read it for herself. Her breath hitched. Suddenly, she shot up from the couch, nearly stumbling over herself. "No, no, no, no," she muttered, panic flooding her voice. "You don't understand. This is bad." I raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, Emily, it is." She grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "You don't know what he's capable of." Something in her voice, something raw, terrified, sent a shiver through me. Before I could ask what she meant, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a message. It was a call. Tyler's wife. Emily's face drained of all color. I answered, "Hello," but the voice on the other end wasn't a woman's. It was a man's. Low. "Dangerous." Seething with rage. "You just made a big mistake." The coldness in his voice sent a chill down my spine. It wasn't Tyler's wife. It was him. For a moment I said nothing, letting the weight of his words settle between us. Beside me, Emily had gone utterly still, her breathing rapid and uneven. "You just made a big mistake," Tyler repeated, his voice quieter now, more controlled, but no less menacing. A slow smirk crept onto my face. "Did I?" A sharp exhale came through the line. "You have no idea what you've done." Emily's grip on my arm tightened painfully. "Nick," she whispered. "Hang up. Please, just hang up." I ignored her. "You cheated on your wife," I said, my voice even. I just gave her the truth. "If you want to blame someone, start with yourself." A low, humorless chuckle rumbled from Tyler. "Yeah? And what do you think happens next?" There was something in the way he said it that made my muscles tense instinctively. "That depends," I said, my grip firm around the phone. "Are you threatening me?" Silence. Then, in a voice colder than before, "I don't make threats. I make promises." Before I could respond, Emily tore the phone from my grasp. "Tyler, stop," she pleaded. "Please, just leave him out of this." My blood ran cold. Slowly, I turned to her. "Leave me out of what, Emily?" She inhaled sharply, realization dawning on her face. She had said too much. I wrenched the phone back before she could stop me. "Tyler, what the hell is she talking about?" Tyler let out another dark, amused chuckle. But this time there was no anger. Just something almost mocking. "Wow," he murmured. "She really didn't tell you anything, did she?" A sick feeling twisted in my gut. "Tell me what?" Emily lunged for the phone again, but I shoved her back, my pulse hammering in my ears. Tyler's voice dropped even lower. "Your little fiancé?" She hadn't just been unfaithful, that was only the beginning. After a brief pause, Tyler's expression twisted into something almost smug as he continued, revealing something far worse. The room seemed to spin around me. My gaze snapped to Emily, my thoughts racing in a frantic attempt to make sense of his words. What was he talking about? Emily's lips trembled. "Nick, please," she whispered, but Tyler wasn't finished. "Go ahead, ask her about the accident," he said slowly, dragging out each word. "Ask her what really happened that night." A cold, sinking feeling settled in my gut. My entire body stiffened as I turned fully toward Emily. "What accident?" My voice came out harsher than I intended. Her breathing grew uneven, almost panicked. "Nick, She faltered. "What accident?" I repeated, the demand sharper now. Tears welled up in her eyes. And then, in the softest, most fragile voice, she admitted, "Someone died." The air was sucked from my lungs. I felt weightless, detached, as though I were standing outside my own body. Tyler let out a dark chuckle. "Yeah," he said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "And she helped me make sure no one ever found out." I could only stare at her, my thoughts fracturing into pieces. The woman I had loved, the one I believed I knew so well, she wasn't who I thought she was. And in that moment, the betrayal of her affair wasn't even the worst part.